have our protein challenge coming up. If you look, we have our Wellness Way challenge page. As you can see at the beginning of January, we do our no sugar challenge. Then we started our new April detox month, and you're gonna notice that for next April. But starting next month, our July protein challenge month for people to eat enough of it. And of course, October, we're gonna so focus on sleep. It's kind of cool. And these are challenges. Now, why are they challenges? Because it's difficult. It really is. It's difficult, you know. As you saw Erin over there, you know, I tried to push her to eat a significant amount of protein, just like I do all women, but also men too. Men just have a little easier time doing it because they like meat. They'll get a higher base protein content. But what they do is by doing this, they see the health things that they want to happen. And they see everything from calorie reduction to increased muscle mass to weight loss to feeling satiated. So they feel like they feel like they eat all the time, but they still accomplish all their health goals, and that's the key thing. I read a stat the other day, which is really sad, but in the last 14 years of most people's lives, they spend a significant amount of their wealth on healthcare, and not in a good way, just surviving. And it could be in a nursing home, it could be just from being ill and trying to do things, but they spend a lot of time. The last 14 years deal with a lot of suffering with most people that way. Well, if you can make longevity a focus now, because I tell people this, you know, what would you tell your 20-year-old self? Well, I'd tell me these things. And so we have those things, we try to tell people, do it while you're young, because then longevity is more accomplishable. It's not that if you start late, it's not, but it's a wonderful thing to do. And that's why if you notice our power of protein, you know, we call it our challenge. We start in July. You can see, you can just use a QR code over there, and you can actually sign up for the group. It's free. Now, once again, the challenges are free in every single way, even the recipes that we give out and all things like that. Everything is free through the process. So there's no cost to anything. It's just come and join us. We're all gonna stay focused on our protein. And the nice thing is when you focus on your protein being the central part of your food, guess what happens? The things that all surround it, you actually will by nature eat less, which will reduce your calorie intake and also get the macro, micronutrients and fatty acids and everything you need. Like last night, what I went home, I actually said, okay, I was hungry, didn't eat most of the day. I had, you know, obviously I had some liver and stuff like that in the morning. But I got home, I made 2 hamburgers. Once again, they're probably about 3/4 a pound each one that way. No bun, but then of course I had, you know, some lettuce with it. I also had raw onion. I just love raw onion. It's just sometimes I'll put just about about 3/4 thick of the raw onion compared to my burger. And I had those, ate that, it was fantastic. And I had some sauerkraut, and that was my meal. And once again, it was fantastic. I had great high dense nutrients. I had a significant amount of protein. I actually had my fermented product, which you know I try to eat something fermented with my meal each time. And obviously the vast majority of the time it's sauerkraut. So I can get soluble and insoluble fiber, which is so important. And we're gonna talk about that because here's what happens. Today, as I kind of explained the protein meal I had last night, we get a lot of questions. And so therefore, talking about proteins, and this came from a person that was more of a plant-based person. And let me make it very clear, When you do the protein challenge, you can, once again, you can do a plant-based, you can do an animal-based. I'm a combination person. I like plant-based proteins, I like animal-based proteins. Am I more of an animal-based protein person? Yes, I am. Am I a carnivore? Absolutely not. No one will ever convince me not to eat sauerkraut. No one will ever convince me not to eat cruciferous vegetables. I'm sorry, I just understand certain liver pathways that we can all research and understand. I just could never get away from them. I just can't. The constituents and ingredients needed for your body to work in certain areas, I just can't get away from them. So that's why people say, well, Doc, you talk a lot about protein and meat. Well, sure I do. But it doesn't mean I don't have a significant amount of vegetables and fruits. It's just that what I do is when I'm looking at certain things. Now, once again, can I live on sauerkraut and cruciferous vegetables? No, I'd be very deficient. But can I just live on meat? No, but if there's one food you have a little more chance of living on, it would be meat. But see, once again, there's some debates in that. But long story short, as we were talking about proteins, of course, a lot of plant-based proteins come up. So then a person asked me a question, and I want to go into detail on this. And it's going to sound funny because I'm going to show you there's people that are way right on this, there are people way left on this. And I'll tell you this, I'm kind of in the middle. It's kind of like, are you a vegan? Are you a carnivore? No, I'm kind of in the middle. So I'm kind of in the middle because, once again, my educational background, and I'll share some of the things I learned, when I took a recent certificate class that way, and I'll show it to you that way. And then what happens is this, and then on the flip side, I'm going to show you some things where it's going to seem like I'm more carnivore. There's sometimes I'm going to show you that I'm okay with being more of a plant-based one. Let's get started with the question now that I built it up to it that way, and what we are going to do with it. So here we go. Dr. Patrick, are lectins something we should avoid? Now, once again, it's important to really think about that. And a lot of people say, well, Doc, what is a lectin? But when you start studying plant-based things, you're going to notice that lectins do come up, and you're going to see on social media, lectins are bad, and things like this, and are they? We're gonna maybe figure it out a little bit today and stuff like that. Or are they good? We're gonna kind of figure it out a little bit that way. But what we can do is this. There's only one thing that kind of bothers me a little bit, and maybe I'm a little, iffy on some things this way, and let me explain, is if you just take, one ingredient out of a plant or one ingredient out of the meat, and if you isolate it, and do things, yeah, there can be some things that might be good or bad about it. But that's the thing, good and bad, you know what I'm saying? But then you're taken out of context, it's like this, they did the research on, certain vitamins that said that these vitamins can contribute to cancer. It's like, it was a synthetic, isolated vitamin. It wasn't existed in nature. No one just eats lectins, okay? There's foods that have higher lectins and foods that have less lectins, and lectins pretty much exist in a plant form, and that's why some of the carnivore people scream and say, oh my goodness, it's bad. On the flip side, we go, but lectins, can they have a benefit? If you think about this, when you look at all chronic illness, it don't matter if it's celiac, IBS, doesn't matter if it's a swollen ankle, doesn't matter if it's any condition on a plant, there's some inflammatory response that's chronic, okay? Now remember, once again, people say, Doc, you talk a lot about inflammation. Yeah, and I talk good and bad about it. Wait, what? Yeah, inflammation, good and bad. Let me explain. If I accidentally, I have a stage here, and if all of a sudden I step down and I miss a step and I twist my ankle, I'm hoping I inflame up. Why? Because if I damage any soft tissue, bone, ligament, anything within my ankle, I don't want my body not to have an inflammatory response. So therefore, guess what? I expect blood flow, tissue, immune cells, everything to go to that area and start that regeneration repair. Now, if it doesn't heal up and the inflammation move out and it stays there chronically, now there can be a degenerative, a bad process that can lead to bone loss and tissue problems and instability and pain. And if that stays there for a long period of time, that's bad. So therefore, when people say inflammation, all inflammation is bad. That's not true. If I come in contact with the virus, I want inflammation. Why? I want blood flow, immune cells to move that area and protect me and create a barrier so it doesn't get to some vital organ. Or if it does get to vital organ, I want that immune system to address that organ. There's gonna be some inflammation, but once again, there's the acute inflammatory response and the chronic one that could lead to some other issues. So once again, bad, good. So you look at no sugar and detox and protein and sleep, the challenge we do, we're trying to help people achieve what they want, which essentially is to feel good, to look good, to have good labs, to actually have vibrancy, to have energy, and that all encompasses good longevity. Hey everyone, for unedited, full-length, unapologetic content, go to my website, drpatrickflynn.com. Hit the subscribe button to join our community for more amazing content like this every day.